Hey everybody, welcome back. This time around, we're looking at something a little bit different than our usual reviews into action and superhero movies. We like to go down a different path every once in a while. We are going to be reviewing the First Purge. Also, a little bit different is that there is not just one person with us. There's two people. We have both Isaac.
Hello.
There you go.
There he is.
and we have Jason.
Woo!
There, he is so pumped up.
He loved this.
Definitely did not love this. Definitely, love is definitely far from how I felt about this movie.
Well, so it's kind of weird. We haven't seen Isaac in a very long time. It has been since February since he's done a review. But now if you liked what Isaac brings to the table, you're going to get a whole lot of them for the whole second half of this year. In fact, even next week, Skyscraper comes out. He and I will be reviewing that one. Now, Jason usually joins us when it comes to things being dead or dying, so I guess it's no surprise that Jason's here.
Woo! Yeah. Silence in the inner city, baby.
So, okay, the First Purge. Let's go with overall feelings. Isaac, you go first, then Jason, and then I'll go. Isaac, what was your overall feelings of this movie?
Overall, wow. It tried very hard to make a good social commentary, and I think it ended up defeating its own goal. I think it ended up going too far, and they had a lot of potential to make a really great film, but they got caught up in the politics.
All right, Jason, what'd you think?
Solid action violence, but the plot was too far up its own ass, and the directors have some lofty goals.
Yeah, I'm actually a pretty good mix of both of it there. Although I'm not sure if we're gonna land on the same points as to why. But yeah, no, I think as far as a thrilling action type movie, I thought this was pretty decent, pretty good actually. In fact, there were some really there were some good moments in it for sure. As kind of a horror thriller movie, the political commentary to which it is everywhere. You cannot walk in this film without tripping over someone's feels on something politically or socially. I think it was very hit or miss. I think there were times where they hit on some things, and then there was definitely some misses. But overall, I would have to say that I enjoyed myself. If you go into this thing, wanting this movie to agree with you on viewpoints, you're probably going to be disappointed. Just because at the same time, while again there is some social commentary here, it is also basically a thriller movie, and you can't take this one too seriously, despite the fact that it kind of propped itself up to be taken seriously, as most of the Purge movies have. I would not say all of them, but most of them. They walk that line of, hey, look at us, we're a crazy movie talking about an alternate reality where people get to kill themselves and it's just fine, versus at the same time it's like, well, we got things we want to say. Yeah. So, okay.
That was well put.
Yeah.
So, everything you said.
Unfortunately, the fact that they do try to ride both of those lines leads to a lot of contrast in both of them.
And contrast and conflict.
Yeah. The more serious political elements get undercut by the ridiculous amount of violence and gore. Almost cartoony in some cases. Whereas, the fun of a thriller movie sort of gets undercut by drawing us out of that suspense to bring us back to real-life worries and concerns, stuff that we have opinions on. It might inflame us. It might, make us worried or sad or, incite some feelings in us. And that draws us out of the movie. The whole point of a movie is, at least I think, to set up a story, tell another look at something.
Another Purge. As we've seen, this being the fourth film and a mini-series on the way. It's interesting like that for sure. So now this is going to be we're going to try to keep it not spoilers. This is going to be kind of tough because there are a lot, again, there's a lot of commentary in here, a lot of narrative that they're trying to say, and some of it I think they do well, some of it I don't think they do well at all. We're going to try to be non-spoiler here, but if something does slip, apologies in advance, because we are trying to do not spoiler on this, because ultimately I do think that this is something, if you're interested, you should go see it yourself, and you should you should not, maybe listen to us as far as how it is as a film, but as far as things specifically, I definitely think that that's something where you need to go and see this movie yourself and see how you feel about it. So we're going to try to stay away from specifics.
And when you do, comment below and tell us what you think.
Yep.
Tell us why we're wrong.
Absolutely. So let's go in the same order. We're just going to talk about some of the things that stuck out for each of us. Isaac, go ahead. What were some of the biggest things that you either loved or hated that were hits or misses about this film for you?
I want to start us off with a quote by Variety magazine. They said this movie can be summed up as Boys in the Hood meets Lord of Flies. And I think that perfectly described.
That is actually really good. I like that.
It was one of the very first Purge movies that we really focused on the inner city, which I thought was super cool. It really built up the mythology in a great way. I loved that. Absolutely loved that. But then, kind of like we've been stating so far, it started going down this politicky route, and even in the marketing, you could see that coming with very messages about. I think this film basically, the best way to put it is, it became Hollywood's idea of what America has become under the current president. That was my takeaway from it. So that was I guess that was kind of like a weird rail to ride. Some of the things I really did enjoy about this film was early in the movie you see they're encouraging the purge, and instead of killing each other, people are just partying like crazy, like going absolute ham, but just they're not out to go and try to hurt people, which I thought was actually the most realistic part of the film. I think a lot of people like to joke around saying, "Oh, I have a kill list of people, and if there was a real purge," but when it comes down to it, most humans don't want to take another person's life, and they would most likely just be chilling. But then there was, I think his name was Skeletor, and he goes on the shooting spree, basically, and that's really what gets the purge going.
I have to correct one thing you said there, because he doesn't actually go on a shooting spree. He goes on a stab spree.
Oh, yeah, you're right. But, yeah, you're right. You're right.
But he goes on a killing spree, nonetheless.
He goes on his killing spree. And I thought that was, super, that was super cool.
All right. Anything else you want to focus on with that? Or
We'll come back to the points that I really want to focus on, I think.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure Jason and I will hit on some of the things you'll want to comment on. Jason, what do you got? What stuck out for you the most on this?
Okay, so I'll focus on the stuff that I liked the most and the stuff that I disliked the most. So my favorite and the most hated part of the movies. So I'll start with my favorite. My favorite part was the fact that we saw the Purge hit on the parts that it does really well since the beginning. The Purge has been a solid thriller movie. The action is condensed, the shooting feels, resonant. The sound is good, the music track is good. It's a solid thriller, and ever since Purge 1, it's been a solid thriller. It keeps you in your seat. You're never knowing when that next whack job's going to come around the corner. It's really good at building up that suspense, and I absolutely love it for that. But my least favorite part was the fact that the whole movie seems to be what the directors think the inner city is like. And having spent a considerable amount of time living and working in and around the inner city of Milwaukee, I can tell you that people don't act that way in real life. They don't act the way that they do in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Drug dealers with a heart of gold very rarely, if ever, exist. There are lots of really good people who live there, people who are trying to live their lives, who are doing their best to take care of their families. But, crime is an ever-present threat. It's a culture. It's a society down there, People have family members in gangs. They've got, family members who are on drugs. They may be drug users themselves. There's a deep amount of humanity to be found there. And this whole movie sort of reduced the rich culture and complex problems of these areas into two-dimensional stereotypes. The ridiculous amount of over-the-top change that we see in the main character in particular, from a hardened drug lord to a cultural hero, was absolutely ridiculous. People don't change like that overnight, regardless of massive circumstances. Nobody suddenly changes their entire attitude, outlook on life, habits that are built up over years and years of being pushed down, of being fighting with law enforcement, of fighting with other drug dealers. That sort of savagery that the drug community has become known for. That doesn't get fixed instantly as soon as, the government sends in a kill squad. That doesn't make him all of a sudden a great pillar of the community to, unite all of these people.
All right. Yeah. No. I agree with pretty much a lot of what you guys are saying here. So let me hit on some of that. It's kind of funny because Isaac brings up what Variety said about this being Boys in the Hood mixed with Lord of the Flies. This movie, while I like that statement in general, this movie is not Boys in the Hood. Boys in the Hood was a good commentary on life in the inner city and on the west side of the country, in a fairly realistic one at its time. This one misses it, and I agree with you completely, Jason. I think it misses it by its overgeneralization. It's kind of like you guys probably felt the same way I did when you were a kid and you'd go see a movie about being a kid and living life as a kid, going to school and doing things that kids did, and you always thought that just wasn't right and just misses the mark on what it was like to really be a kid. That's what this movie is, I think. It misses the mark so much by overgeneralizing and trying to attach itself to the viewers too much and too literally. I think some of overall, most of the characters in this film suffer either by poor acting or by the over desire, I'd say, of the filmmakers to try to say, well, that's this character, and this character is this kind of person, and this character is this kind of person, and it just tries to attach itself to those avatars that we know from film and from entertainment too much so, and I think it suffers for it. I think it would have done itself a lot more service to not try to be so overgeneralized in its characters and actually give us some more three-dimensional characters, to which there are very few. Actually, now that I'm thinking about, probably there aren't any. there probably aren't any actual three-dimensional characters in this film, which at the same time, it's a horror movie, so you can't really come into a thriller kind of expecting that. But at this, on the other side of that coin, this being a movie that is full of social commentary, this being a Purge movie, which in its past has made good three-dimensional characters for some of its films, I think it suffers from that. Now, Jason, since you said it, you got a little spoilery on it, talking about basically who's our lead. The drug dealer. Not only that, but the gang and drug leader. And who ends up with the heart of gold. This falls. I think it's actually one of the worst parts of the movie. It falls flat. It's completely unrealistic. While I think anyone who would go and see this film could definitely end up buying him helping out his community more as the enemy of the enemy is my friend kind of scenario. The very last moment of this film actually does the film the most disservice as to what they do with this character. Do you guys know what I'm talking about with that?
Yeah.
It's they prop him up and it's ridiculous. I mean, this guy's been doing this guy's been killing this community just for being a gang leader and a drug dealer for what I think they reference over a decade. And while I understand that in a scenario like this he may end up becoming the hero, that doesn't mean you cheer him at the end of the day.
He doesn't become the good guy.
No, especially after a decade of, killing people's family members. His gang is, if it is any semblance of real life, is probably responsible for a wholesale amount of the murders that occur in that community.
One thing I did love about the film, though, is there's I don't want to get too spoily, but there's a part where he's talking to, I feel like, is it his sister, right? Is that what she... And she goes on saying, like, you destroy people's lives 364...
Oh, no, we come to find out that's his ex-girlfriend.
Okay, yeah, his ex-girlfriend, where she says, you destroy people's lives 364 days of the year. Why is it such a big deal for one day?
By the way, what's the one day he doesn't? Is that Christmas?
I thought she was talking about, I think she was talking about the Purge, though, because...
I thought so, too, but it kind of landed weird, didn't it?
It did. But I think that might even be like a commentary on inner city communities. I don't want to get too political, but statistics are there where it shows that there is a high violence of inner city violence against other inner city versus when an outside force comes in, and but we get mad about the outside force.
Yeah.
Versus what the problems in our own community.
So yeah, I want to touch a little bit on the other big aspect of this film for me, which is again, there's a lot of commentary on politics. There's a lot of commentary on the treatment of minorities, which in that case, again, very overgeneralized, not quite appropriate, but it's not as bad as a lot of the political commentary. You know, depending on where you lean and your feeling on politics as a whole, you're either going to hate this movie or you're going to love it. I'm not going to touch on all that. I'm going to touch on one thing in particular, which I think they did really, really well, which is the commentary on politics as an abstract. That I thought was spot on. Where this film basically talks a lot about politics as an abstract form of thinking is extremely dangerous and can often lead to a lot of destruction. And whether you agree with the current administration or the previous administration, I mean, from either side, you can look at things that that are happening now. You can look at things that have happened in the past. I think they do a good job of demonstrating that really well. Politics as an abstract is very dangerous and actually can destroy a lot of lives.
Yeah, it's not like a simulation that you can just run through. It's a real live people, real people that's slicing and hurt.
Something I wanted to touch on before, Chris, you said, you know, obviously this is a movie series that has shown it can do 3D characters. You know, with the decision to make more social commentary, I think they have a responsibility then to, you know, go ahead and invest more in these characters. You know, making a light attempt at commentary and, you know, conflicting it can do more damage than an in-depth commentary. You know, the political commentary, I will definitely agree, was less conflicted than the social commentary.
Yeah, no, it kind of misses on both fronts in some ways. In other ways, this movie, and again, I guess this is going to depend on your political point of view, but from where I was standing, and again, I'm standing as a person who has not dealt with a lot of these issues, who's always seen these social issues in most cases from the outside looking in. I think, while I won't say it does the social commentary justice, I will say that it doesn't completely fuck it up. And I'm sorry, I try not to do F-bombs on the reviews anymore, but we are talking about the First Purge here, so I think an F-bomb is okay. So, and again, that's from the outside looking in. It does not. I mean, this movie is primarily, in almost entirely, a minority cast. While, you know, I think it doesn't over exaggerate things too much. There's some quality there on its social commentary.
Yes, there's definitely. I agree, but there is definitely some quality to what they're saying. My one concern was, and this is just as a filmmaker, is you never want to isolate a portion or a demographic, and with the way they marketed it and just the way the vibe I kind of got, I felt like they were alienating a large demographic that could have really wanted just to see an awesome thriller with a good social commentary. But I feel like some of their commentary went too far on certain sides.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's one of those tough balances. Like when you're writing a script and you want to send a message, you got to figure out like how far can I go while reaching the most people, not focusing on one group of people with a certain mindset, if that makes sense. And for the most part, they did a decent job, but I also feel like they went too far in many aspects.
They did.
I'll agree with Isaac. You know, I think the best part about a good film is that a good film should make you think about something. You know, that the film we just did a review on, you and I, Chris, The Girl with All the Gifts, that's a film that makes you think about society. It's a film
dude, we fought.
Yeah, you know, it's a film that changed minds. You know, I think especially for me, it made me think about my own opinions and take a look at are my opinions correct? Especially after talking with you, I took a review of what I thought was right and wrong. A good film should incite conversation. It should change minds. It shouldn't incite argument or lock people in their own sound rooms.
And no, this movie does do that. And I think we're unanimous on that one. This is deliberate. The filmmakers here, they picked a side on this one, and whether you agreed with it or not, that's obvious. They're coming from a point of view, and while there are definitely a lot of other movies that would hammer that down and almost lose the message that, hey, instead we're going to focus on this and not be the kick butt thriller movie that we want to be. They do still deliver in that regard, but they definitely pick a side here. Yeah,
and that's what I said. My favorite part was when it threw everything else to the side and it was just a Purge movie. Because I love the Purge movies. It's a solid thriller, and the first Purge movie in particular reinforced the idea that the scariest monster out there isn't the unknown Russian threat. The monsters that we believe as children that live under our bed. The scariest thing on planet Earth is other people. And it rings through universally through history. A Purge movie is a good movie when they just nail down the basics. It's a solid thriller.
I am gonna argue though with one point is I do think you can do a great social commentary while also making a great action film. And while World War Z was not my most favorite film, I think they did a very great job of doing a social commentary on the world and how politics are combined, and how family works and government, while also delivering on a great action-packed film.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah.
And I think Purge missed a huge opportunity to do the same thing.
Well,
but that's my opinion.
I was just gonna say real quick. I mean, at the heart of it, and I'm sure Jason will agree with this. And I mean, at the heart of zombie movies, I mean, that goes all the way back to the original Night of the Living Dead with Romero. I mean, any really good zombie movie is a social commentary on society at its time and the masses versus free thinkers. And so I know I love to hear you say that. We have not had much of a chance to talk about movies like that, but yeah, World War Z does a decent job of it. As far as zombie movies go, it actually is on the lower end of the spectrum on social commentary, but it's still there and it does a good job.
Yeah.
Real quick, because I haven't said on too much, just for the sake of it, there are 2 after credit scenes. There's one about 30 seconds in. There's another one at the end, which is a trailer for the upcoming miniseries. So if you did not wait for these, after credit scenes, you really didn't miss anything. But there are 2 of them for those who are interested in seeing that. Now, and Jason has commented on this a couple times. I just want to mention it as well as far as agreeing. The quality, the visuals, the audio, the effects, the action of this movie are all really good. And as far as your typical thriller go, it's on the higher end. And most of the Purge movies have been like that. So I just want to comment on that as well.
That was phenomenal. I mean, it could have very easily become like one of those a solid B-list horror flick, but as far as like effects went and all that, great A-list movie material.
I will say this though, there is one point, and I give it slack just because it is a movie, but there's a point when there's a big explosion, and I'm sorry, in reality, everybody's dead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
for that scene, I was just like, what?
I mean that's fine. It's an action movie. It's real quick. We've talked about this before started recording. We've all seen the first Purge movie. Some of us have seen the second. I don't think any of us had seen the third one, the one before this one.
I did.
Oh, you did. You did see it. Okay.
The election year.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one with the senator. Yep.
I just want to focus on the first one because I still think the first one is the best, and I think this story that they're telling with these Purge movies, I think it has still been done best in the confinements of the first movie, simply telling a simple tale of what happens on this night and what can happen. And I think keeping it kind of as a smaller story, as a smaller movie overall, focusing on characters instead of saying things so broadly. I think it made for a better, intriguing story. I don't know what the miniseries is going to bring. I'm sure we're going to get a Purge 5. This movie's going to do well enough, I'm sure.
I was wondering, like, where do you go from here?
Well,
like, do they do a final chapter and this is like the end of Purge? Like, there's no more Purges, or?
Well, that's sort of what Purge 3 was. At the end of Purge 3, the senator makes it through the night, and shortly after the movie, we see legislation to stop the Purge come through.
So, like, if we go fifth one, does that like the final Purge?
Well, I think that there's a lot of years in between this prequel and Purge 3 that could also be covered. You could tell individual, concise stories.
So then are you just going the Star Wars route and just making a movie for every character that's in the film?
It's more of the MCU approach, I think.
No, they're definitely making a franchise out of it. I do think it's gonna be interesting. They're doing the 10-part miniseries on USA for this, which obviously isn't going to be as gory. I don't know. They've been doing this thing with these movies where they're trying to tell more of a story to it, and I think showing the first Purge is an interesting hook. Also showing the last Purge, but if you look at Purge 2, which is just kind of more, I don't want to say more of the same because it's not quite more of the same, because they try to extend out, they try to branch out a little bit with the whole story. I just don't think that this, I just don't think this narrative has the depth. I'm really not sure where they go with it. And one thing that I will say about this real quick, and I'm going to try to say this in a very non-spoiler way. This movie does a really good job of putting the whole Purge theory in its place. When the first movie came out, it was quite a culture shock. A lot of people were taken aback by the whole concept. I think this movie does a good job of saying, look, this is our concept, this is what it is, and this is where it comes from. Just, take it as we mean it, and I think it does a good job of that.
Yeah, it did feel a little bit like they were trying to particularly put on rails the viewer's interpretation of certain things.
Like, this is a bad idea. I think they nailed it home. Like, Purge is a terrible, don't do it.
Yeah.
Versus, like, for the first one, like, a lot of friends were like, that actually might be pretty cool, let's do it. And, like, this one, like, really felt the responsibility.
I think that was also the point of the first film, was to incite conversation, That was, that was their hook. That was their Blair Witch,
Well, and I think this one does a good job. I mean, because I think one of the things that comes up is how does a world get to this place where this is something that it does once a year. And I think for the most part it does a good job of building that up and in propping up how this happens, while at the same time it is a little blank in some areas, but I think it does it well enough of saying, all right, this is how the Purge happened, this is how we get to that point, and this is, well, like Isaac said, this is exactly why this should never happen.
I think so. We clap. Let's go.
All right. So,
yes!
is there anything else you guys want to comment on with this one? I think we
real quick.
We went around with it pretty. Okay.
Really want to just say this. Blumhouse Productions. They've done this film. They've done Get Out. They did Happy Death Day, Paranormal Activity, and Insidious. They're also doing the new Halloween film that's coming out. And if you look for it, there's an Easter egg. There's a Halloween poster hanging in one of the early scenes.
There you go.
I know your thoughts.
Well, we talked about that before we started recording. I'm very much looking forward to Halloween, and I already told you guys you should take this opportunity to see a John Carpenter film in the theater. I mean, he's obviously Blumhouse is producing it, but he is all over it. The original creator, one of the original founding fathers of horror in the modern day. We're going to be reviewing it. I'm going, at least. I'm waiting for someone else to tag on to that and review that movie.
I might. I mean, it is in October, so I won't know my exact schedule until a little bit closer to the actual date. But if I'm available, I'm up for it.
Oh yeah, you guys don't want to miss that chance. You just don't get that kind of experience in film anymore. Yeah, I recommend that. No, it's awesome. I missed the Easter egg like we talked about before we started recording, just because I'm already on the Halloween train, so I missed it. But yeah, that was a good eye. I'd missed it.
Cool. That's pretty much all I had.
All right, so we're gonna rate this thing. We're gonna go 1 to 10. What should we go, Jason? 1 to 10 what?
1 to 10 drug dealers with a heart of gold.
All right, that sounds totally fake.
How much?
1 to 10. 1 to 10 Skeletors. Let's go 1 to 10 Skeletors. He gets a little bit of a shout out. That was a good character.
I'll give him 6 Skeletors. 6.5.
6.5 Skeletors, dude. That's like a D minus.
In college, it's a C.
Yeah.
Is that a C in college?
It's
No,
a C in college.
that was no C when I was in college.
Yeah.
You went to the bad college.
I'm gonna go with Isaac here. I'm gonna give it like 6.5 to 7.
And just from that, did I go to the bad college or did you go to the bad college?
Hey, man, I got a degree, so that's all that matters.
So I guess I'm going on a little bit of an older school curve on this. I'm gonna give it a 7. I was thinking between 7 and 7.5, so I'll go with the 7 on it. It's fun, and if you don't care about the social commentary, the political stuff, and you just want to go see a good thriller and a good action flick, you're gonna get that. So yeah, I mean, if there's nothing else on, if you're not doing anything on the 4th of July, which what are you doing? Yeah, no, I this is solid. I don't know if this is maybe go to the theater, but it is definitely a rental.
Yeah, definitely a rental.
Yeah, or discount streaming.
No, we would never say that.
No. Yeah, we don't do that.
But like if
No, I didn't say piracy. I said streaming. Difference.
If you if you have a significant other over, it might be a good film to have an excuse to put your arm around them. That's all I'm saying.
There you go. Man, I'm too old to even think about that anymore. There it is.
There it is.
All right. So, like Isaac said earlier, let us know what you think. Let us know what you thought of our views of the movie, and tell us what you thought of the movie. Go ahead and comment below. If you liked our review, go ahead and give us a like and a subscribe. We're gonna have another one out here in just a couple days. Ian and I are gonna be doing Ant-Man and the Wasp, and like I said, next week Isaac and I are going to be Popcorn Movie Extreme with Skyscraper. I mean, it's The Rock, it's the summer. There's all kinds of explosions. It's got a Die-Hard feel to it. Can't wait. All right, so all right, that's gonna do it for us. All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Hey people, thank you for tuning into this episode and taking a listen. If you like our content, if you like what you're listening to, is there anything we go over, hey, please, we would not only love to hear more from you, but if great, if you could throw some support, you can subscribe right below. Also, you can toss us a line anytime, that's ksongmedia@gmail.com. Of course, you can tune in for our channel anytime for movie reviews, game reviews, a lot of random wacky stuff. Who knows what you'll hear. And of course, our episode each week where we're bringing the nerdiest things we can find, pick up, and maybe not find, maybe the stuff that just drops in our laps. But anyway, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening, and we hope to hear from you again later. Take care.